Hi there everyone, Adam here, back with another video. That's right, a Minoxidil related video. I promised you as and when I was inspired to make a Minoxidil related video, I would still do them, and I have been inspired by Chemos over at Beard Profile, who recently published a really great article looking at 5% versus 10% Minoxidil. So in this video, I'll be revisiting 10% Minoxidil, and also I'd like you to go and check out the article itself. It's linked right at the top of the description of this video, because it actually has the links to all the studies that I'm going to be briefly touching upon in this video, and also goes into much more depth than I'll probably be able to cover. So feel free to go and check that out. I really recommend that you do so. So let's get into revisiting 10% Minoxidil. So I'd say 10% Minoxidil has been pretty popular for the past 2 years within the Minoxidil beard community. It got popular pretty quickly because for so long people were quite adverse to people using higher concentrations because, you know, there was no evidence it was going to give you better results, and it was probably just going to give you more side effects. And, you know, that's kind of the position that people held for quite a while. And then there was a study that came out that actually showed that females who were non-responders, which means they had a resistance to Minoxidil as a drug, they just didn't really show any response to it, actually did respond at a higher concentration, this concentration being 15%. And so from that, many people started to infer that perhaps actually using a higher concentration, if you're a non-responder to Minoxidil, that's the important part here, could actually help you then become a responder to Minoxidil. So we're not talking about people starting out their journey, we're talking about people that are probably 8 months deep, haven't seen any results, are frustrated and want to see if a higher concentration will kick off some gains. Unfortunately, what this has devolved into is every man and his dog, although probably not his actual dog because they're covered in hair, but everybody seems to then now be starting with 10% Minoxidil. And I feel a little bit exasperated because most of the admins have tried to explain this to people over and over and over again, that more is not necessarily always better. And if you get perfectly great results from 5%, there's no reason to start out using 10%. And if you haven't given 5% a chance, like you've only been using Minoxidil a month or 2 months or even 3 months, and you still haven't seen anything, you start jumping on using a higher concentration, that's ridiculous. You've not really been given 5% enough time to actually show any results anyway. And there's no proof that 10% is better than 5%. And we've been saying that the whole time. It's just that 10% will likely, you know, if you're a non-responder, potentially make you a responder. But what does the actual study says that compares 5% to 10%? Well, surprise, surprise, 5% actually perform better than 10% Minoxidil. So if you are a responder to Minoxidil already at 5% and you've been using 10%, I highly recommend that you stop using it, or at least finish out your current supply and go back to using the 5% Minoxidil based off of the findings in this study. Now, what's important to note here is that, you know, as I said, this has been an attitude that happens to exist within these kinds of communities all the time, where people just assume that more is better. And this kind of happens a lot with people going, oh, I want to apply 4 times a day. That will give me better results because 4 is more than 2, which we know that drugs don't really work like that. And we've been trying to explain that for a long time. Obviously, we didn't really have a specific study to back up and prove what we're saying. But as I say, the study's been done this year now that shows that 5% is more performative and more effective than 10% Minoxidil. And it also tends to give less psychological side effects, as referenced in the article. Things like shedding, you know, can be cause quite a lot of psychological effects for some people. It can make them quite worried and anxious than people using the 5%. Obviously, head shedding still happens on the 5%, but it happens at a higher rate, as do most side effects on the 10%, which is why I've always said, you know, you should only really use it if you're a non-responder to 5% Minoxidil. Again, can appear quite hypocritical because I tried out 10% on this YouTube channel out of curiosity, but there we go, okay? So now you know 10% is not necessarily better than 5% and it's more expensive anyway, so you can go back to using 5% if you already respond to the 5% Minoxidil. However, there is a caveat. Now, if you still don't see a response from using 5% Minoxidil at all, then, you know, you could still consider using the higher concentration of 10%. Because, as I said, what we can infer from that other study is that if you are a non-responder, the important part here, a non-responder to Minoxidil at 5%, a higher concentration could help you then see results. Now, granted, You probably have to leave it a few months before you just start jumping into that, but that's kind of what it shows. So by no means am I shitting on 10% or saying never use it again or anything like that. And there's going to be people in the comments section of this video most likely who go, well, I switched 10% and I saw better results. But there's no real evidence to suggest that it was because you switched to the 10% from the 5% that you then all of a sudden saw more improvement. It could have been a timing thing. It could have just been because we know how we have had our own journeys as well. Sometimes you experience bursts in improvement at random times. So I remember, I think around like month 19, my beard just seemed thicker after that. And people have commented even since quitting Minoxidil that my beard seems to have improved. So, you know, improvements can happen at different times. It's not necessarily because you introduced the 10%. We can't always make that and jump to that assumption. So bear that in mind as well, because I know people are going to comment that. And I think that's even addressed in the article as well. Guys, that's pretty much it, really. I just wanted to make you aware of this article and this recent study that was done. I highly recommend that you go and read the article in full because it will give you a bit more depth and a bit more understanding. But for now, I'm going to be closing off this video. Tomorrow is my birthday. I've still got planned content to come up at some point, but I've just been highly busy organising a little trip away. So we're going to Amsterdam for the weekend for the culture and the coffee shops. And so I'm going to be having a good time this weekend. So probably won't be able to respond to all of the comments over the weekend, but will be back on the channel as soon as I get back. So thanks very much, everyone. I hope that you did like this video. If you did, then hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me on this channel, granted, not all of them are going to be on Minoxidil, hit that subscribe button. And also, please do ask any comments or post any comments, ask any questions in the comments section. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.
All these rappers faking, I tell them tuck your chain in. Cause when my youngest came in, I swear they had them skating. Started popping rappers, Tom started confiscating. You niggas still trying to make a rep and get some ratings. On the man I knew to